Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the GW Basketball Insiders podcast. I'm Liam Omerku alongside David Korn and special guest Cameron Mays. You may recognize Cameron's name, face, writing. He did some stuff with WRGW. He's a friend of the program, and just a fellow GW basketball sicko. And obviously, we are here after a catastrophically awful loss for GW on Wednesday night against Delaware, 70-58 against a team that is not very good. So I'll leave it at that, and I'll open it up to Cameron. Why don't we go with you first, Cameron? Just give us your general thoughts on the game.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks guys for having me on. Longtime listener. I know I've been called out a few times, so I'm glad I'm here to
so you do listen. We like.
I do. I really do.
Are there? Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, thank you guys. I was at the Smith Center last night, live at the scene of the crime, and yes, it was just as bad as it sounds, just as bad as it looks on a box score. I really thought that the intensity was low. The speed. Both like the pace of play was slow, but just the speed of our players was not great. I know in the press conference, like Trey Autry and Coach Caputo, they both said, we weren't looking ahead to Florida. We didn't overlook this, but I mean, I don't see how that could be the case. At least maybe in the back of their minds, they were overlooking this. I was telling Liam also, I don't think the defense was terrible, but it was bad when it mattered. And this is, many games now this season and past seasons where GW lets one guy get hot. They let one guy have a career game. And, I don't know how that keeps happening, but it's certainly a trend at this point. Also say one more point on the defense. It's been a bit of a discussion regarding like trapping and double teams. GW, tried it again last night. But, in my opinion, they just don't force enough turnovers off these double teams and off these traps. And too many times, especially late in the game yesterday, we're leaving guys wide open off of that. Offensively, GW was certainly unlucky. I mean, they shot 29% for the game. That is unlucky, but did not help with bad shot selection throughout the game. They also really refused, I think, to break down the zone when they could. There were a few moments in that first half when, Delaware dropped into that zone. GW got it to either Marshall or Castro in the middle around the free throw line, and they were able to easily dump it off to someone on the perimeter or dump it down low and got some easy buckets off of that. And they really didn't stick with it. I thought, they had bad shot selection and then also just refused to take some shots kind of later when they needed quick buckets. So Liam, like you said, I mean, just catastrophic, really no other way to put it. That's like a unfortunately, being GW being a mid-major, that's like a season defining loss. So, got to move forward into Florida into conference play, but that one's going to hurt for a while.
So you said something there that I think is really interesting about sort of the ball movement and sort of abandoning that. And I think that's something this team was doing so well before this game. And I think it was probably the American game, especially where it was most on display. But this team has shown that they are capable of some really excellent ball movement and really, like you said, sort of breaking down these zones with the pass. And the fact that they didn't, maybe when things got tougher, that they stayed away from that, I think is pretty, you don't like to see that from the team.
Yeah. I was stunned by how bad the offense looked. It was confounding. This team has been at times pretty bad defensively, but the offense is like, you can rely on them to score, 80, 90 points a game. And they, like, what maybe the worst opponent they're playing in the non-conference schedule. Like I truly think this Delaware team is awful, and they were missing a bunch of players. Like, and they scored 58 points. I was stunned. Like it was catastrophic. Like it's like I said, it was catastrophic. I don't think GW scored a 2-pointer until after the under 8 timeout in the first half. And it's like, this is against a team where you have such a size advantage. Delaware seemingly just packed it in and played zone. And it worked, credit to them. But like, this Delaware team lost to Wilmington, which is a D2 team. Lost to Delaware State, the most recent game they played, which is effectively a D2 team. I mean, like...
And they also lost to a D2 team.
Yeah, it's
That's
like...
what I'm saying.
So I think.
But what about Delaware having a halftime lead over BYU earlier in the year though? So this is maybe just the craziest play up your opponent team of all time.
Yeah, that might be true. I mean, I think they play a style where they can muck it up, but I think that's actually a pretty sound observation, is that they probably play to the level of their opponent. But it's like I don't think it was Delaware that like obviously they played well and they shot pretty well, and I knew coming into the game that they were going to play well from 3.
We've gone this long without mentioning Justin Fernandez.
Yeah, he was awesome. He was terrific.
Now a GW killer, I think.
I know. We better never play him again. Oh my God. Ban that man from the Smith Center. He's never allowed back.
So yesterday he had a career high 27 points. In 2023, George Mason got a big win against GW at the Smith Center, where Fernandez, when he was having a pretty quiet freshman season, had 15 points and what was at that point a career high 5 threes. And he was really the difference maker for George Mason there. So whatever it is about this guy's 3-point shooting in the Smith Center, he just sees the ball well there. You know, looks like he's shooting on a hula hoop. I don't know what it is, but he is. I mean, Cameron, I heard the contingent you were sitting with. The second that first Fernandez shot went in, you guys just started groaning, right? Because you guys remembered.
Yeah, I mean, we knew before the game what he had done the last time at the Smith Center, and you know, you can watch the replay of the game last night, but something really struck me in just how smooth that first shot went down. That on top of the history, I mean, I just like felt it. And then he goes on to score the first 13 points of the game, and you know, you're just crossing your fingers and like you're just strapping in for the night. Never could have predicted the outcome that actually was, but yeah, Fernandez. We had a bad feeling about him.
Yeah. I mean, like more than anything, it's just like the word that I would use to describe the loss is deflating. And it was just like I felt deflated. Like, and it was obvious seeing the players. Like you saw the players, I think going into the final media timeout, they looked like they just wanted to walk off the floor. And at that moment I was like, oh, there is no way they win this game, because they're just like hanging their heads and stuff like that. You could see it in the press conference, especially Trey Autry, who I thought was like pretty much the only GW player who played well last night. Like they're just like, it was just incredibly deflating and seriously makes us rethink a lot of things that we thought about this GW team.
I mean, does it really? Like, I mean, I understand.
Dude, you cannot lose to Delaware. Like, this team is so bad.
I know, but it's a bad loss. Teams have bad losses and can still be good. And I understand that this will mess with the net and basically makes an at-large bid impossible unless you win at Florida. Florida becomes a top 5 team after that. And you go like through A10
16-2 in the A10. Yeah.
So exactly. So I'm not saying these will happen, but you can still be a good team. You know, you can still put yourself in position to do well in the A10 tournament. You know, you could still be an NIT team. I don't think.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree.
Liam, we talked a lot about this after the MTE, when sort of maybe some people's expectations were being readjusted, and I think an at-large bid was always unrealistic. I think looking into the season, there was a world in which the at-large bid could have happened. You know, everything goes right, you can get that. But at a certain point, this is going to be like the biggest spin zone of all time. But at a certain point, you have to think that this loss may allow GW to just play a bit more freely, knowing that there's a bit less of that pressure, you know, game to game, knowing that one loss could really sink everything. So that they sort of gotten that out of the way a little earlier. that road LaSalle game in February or something is going to be a bit less daunting and a bit less of a trap. They'll have a lot less to sort of be playing for, and there's a lot less pressure on the Florida game on Saturday, which we're going to be talking about in a bit. So maybe that allows them to play a little bit more relaxed, and that works a bit better. So I don't know. I think it'll be really, really interesting to see how this team responds, because there is a world in which they respond and they go one way, and there's a world in which they respond and they go the other way, because this team is clearly very, very talented. And I don't think this loss is an indictment on that talent. It just shows that it's more volatile than maybe people thought.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And yes, this is a talented team. This is a valuable team, from a purely monetary
a lot of people online yesterday were throwing around some figures.
Yeah, suddenly everyone knows a lot about GW's NIL situation.
Yes, but my point is, regardless, this is a loss that simply cannot happen. David, you were saying, I mean, maybe there was some of that pressure adding to it. I thought a really interesting point in the press conference after the game was, Trey Autry saying they hadn't had, or, in his perspective, they haven't been having very good practices. Seemingly for a few weeks, he mentioned, the first losses to McNeese and Murray State. So I don't know if he meant, the bad practices started after that or right around that point, but obviously Army was somewhat of a challenging game as well, but it is definitely possible that there is, they're playing too tight, they're not playing together, and we saw that.
So Cameron, you've been at more GW games than both me and Liam this year. Have you noticed sort of anything, maybe reactions on the bench, body language stuff that would be difficult for people on TV to see? Have you noticed anything that's been going on that you could maybe point to?
I really haven't, outside of last night. I mean, they were deflated, definitely hanging their heads a little bit. Outside of that, no. It seems like everyone on the bench is engaged. Everyone's into it. I mean, there's so much movement on the bench just because of like all the subbing and things that are happening. I've never noticed anything bad or in that regard. But to be fair, this was my first game back at the Smith Center since GW has lost, because I was not able to go to the William and Mary game. So, since I've been there, things could have changed.
Yeah. I think it's important to note that I tweeted this last night. I watched the game after the fact and was like, part of the reason why I was so stunned, because I was expecting to come home and watch it and it'd be like a 20-point win, and then they just lost. This is Chris Capito's first ever bye game loss. This is the first time he has lost a bye game as a coach. Even those I think it was first year and one or two of the American games were not bye games. So
because he lost on the road at Radford.
Correct.
Yes.
Right? Which was a Damian Christian special. The American game that he lost at the Smith Center was part of a 2-for-1.
Okay.
So technically, this would be the first bye game.
Yeah, and the UC San Diego game was a return in his first year.
Yes.
And that was a return because GW played at UC San Diego, because that was part of the Ira Lee recruitment, who blew out his knee doing pickup over the summer and never ended up stepping on the court for GW, which resulted in a basically season-defining 3-game losing streak on the road for these random California schools, having to go straight to the airport after a really grueling game at Maryland. And
they played really well against Maryland.
They
kind of
the Joe Bamisol introduction.
Yes.
That was awesome.
If you know anything about me, you know how I feel about Joe Bamisol.
So I like to say that the way GW played against Maryland at that game was the first time that Mark Turgeon's seat got extra hot. But so you do have to give Capito a bit of credit, though. I mean, there's a lot of
it's impressive to go that long without losing a bye game, for sure. But
I mean, this is also another spin zone because he has been criticized fairly and unfairly at times for easy schedules. So it's not like there've been a ton of really difficult bye games.
That's true. They're not doing the Duquesne bye game where they pick a top 3 team in the Mountain West or something like that.
Do those even count as bye games?
I don't know. I have no idea. I just think that.
I mean, I know the only
maybe it was more
definition of a bye game is if you pay them any money, but I'm not sure how that, because you see some weird stuff where like better teams are sometimes bought. So I don't know. Rothstein has all the. You think Rothstein's foiling for all these bye games figures?
Well, I mean, yes, but also some of these are there's private schools. Like you can't figure out how much GW. You can't FOIA GW. It's a private school. So
UDEL's not public, so you can. Or UDEL is public, so you could FOIA them because it's a public record on there.
Yeah, we had Abe do it last year. Abe was great last year. He did the FOIAs, and
Capito got mad at him.
Did he really? Okay, that's stupid. I'm gonna do
no,
it
actually, but he was like, "Hey, why are you doing this? Like, why do you care?"
I don't know. Maybe you just wanted to feel like a journalist.
Yeah.
Ever thought about that?
No. I've done some FOIAs. I've FOIA'd George Mason before.
Yeah, you did FOIA George Mason. That's right.
Yeah, I FOIA'd George Mason for Tony Skin's contract figures, and so that was cool.
Next year I'll do the FOIAs.
Shout out SMPA at GW for teaching me how to FOIA. So
I did not get taught that at SMPA.
In my investigative reporting class, we learned how to FOIA.
Yeah, and, well, you were a journalism major. I was only a journalism minor.
That's true. Cheryl Thompson, that was a great class. One of my favorites.
Anyway. Yeah, kind of going back to what we were talking about how suddenly everyone knows GW's NIL numbers. Mm-hmm. I felt a similar way where like suddenly everyone's coming out of the woodwork, including GW fans, and saying how they knew that GW sucked all along. They're like, yeah, like, oh yeah, totally. I'm like, guys, like, let's calm down here. Like,
did you see a certain rival program's one of their fan accounts call me out?
Yes,
I did. I don't know. I mean, there's no chance they're listening to that. We're like 18 minutes in. There's 0% chance. Right now.
You know what? You guys are listening. I really respect the hate watch, and that is honestly admirable. If
we do that with them, we are very clear that we do that with them.
So, I mean, my thing with that specific call out is, I mean, I don't see how the result of this game really has any indication on how you rate a different team in the A10.
So the context for this is I was called out because I had George Mason ranked 6th in my very scientific A10 Talk weekly power rankings, where I'm also the only one who has the stones to post them every week.
Well, that's the thing. No one else posts their ballot.
Yeah, which I think is really funny. And like this week, my ballot got like 50 likes and like 8,000 interactions or something. And every week I'm in this group chat telling them, hey, you guys should post these. Like people care. It's fun engagement, like whatever. No one does it. And it's so like this. Like it's like this is fun. Like this is part of the fun of college basketball. Like people going at each other. But yeah, I thought that was kind of crazy because not even like I had GW high. I had GW 4th. A lot of other people in that poll had them like 2 and 3. So yeah. I don't really know what they were going at there. I thought I was actually very fair in that one. I don't think Virginia Tech is that great, and they kind of killed them. And so I thought it was pretty fair to put them at 6th, and they haven't really done anything else.
They've played an absurdly terrible schedule. Like their schedule filled with cupcakes, more so than GW.
Yeah, and I really like St. Bonaventure, and so I had St. Bonaventure above them. I had GW above them, Dayton, St. Louis, and VCU, which I think are all arguable. Obviously, unless something crazy happened against Florida, I don't think I can continue to have my ballot that way. But yeah, and then there were more people in their comments dunking on me there, and so I just think it's really funny that
it's not a safe space. That is not a safe space for you.
No. Well, anyway, I just think so. Stuff like that, and then all these people being, oh, GW's paying $2 million for the roster. I hear
actually,
3.
I heard it was closer to 4.
Oh, actually,
Fuck
5.
you.
Actually, Rafael Castro is getting $2 million more than Florida's playing their guys. Like, what are we talking about? Like, no one knows these exact figures. Like, I'm sure there's I love what Trilly Donovan does, but I'm sure that, you know, some stuff that's getting floated around I'd be shocked if he has the exact figures for every mid-major team's NIL situation. So
Right.
I don't think anyone really knows exactly what it is. We do know there is a significant investment, and I just think it's not the right takeaway that we paid this much for this roster, and so a loss. I don't think that's the right takeaway, right? Because this team is still very talented, and you need to see them in conference play. And GW did have a tougher non-con this year, and they had some losses, and they had this one bad loss here. The MTE was tough, but again, you got to wonder if this adversity will help them in conference play. And it sucks that this is the world of the team that's of a mid-major looking for an at-large bid, where one game like this will really sink them. And you see losses like this in the A10 all the time. You know, St. Joe's losing to Texas A&M Commerce, right? Dayton.
Not even the name of the school anymore, for what it's
Yeah.
Oh, wait, what are they now?
They're East Texas A&M now, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah, way to be on that.
Listen, that's what you can come to me for.
And then what was the year Dayton lost to UMass Lowell and then like beat Kansas? Stuff like that.
Oh, that was like 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, so losses like this happen. Never great, but it's part of the A10.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if the 3-Bid League podcast released an episode today.
I haven't had a chance to listen.
Oh my God. It was actually kind of funny because their first segment was supposed to be them talking about how the A10 has avoided these type of losses. And then they had to like open up the podcast with being like, hey, so we kind of just talked for a while about how they avoided these losses. And in the time between us recording and posting this, like GW lost to Delaware, VCU lost to New Mexico. Like it was a bad night for
So can I before we wrap up talking about Delaware, I have a few stats that really stuck out to me from the game. GW beat Delaware 17-4 on the offensive glass and got 13 more field goals. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and GW only had 7 second chance points.
Yeah.
17 offensive rebounds and 7 second chance points.
I think there were 2 or 3 sequences where GW got like 3 offensive rebounds and missed, every putback.
I know statistically he's been really good, but am I the only one who's been a little, concerned about Rafael Castro not finishing some of these shots? I feel like he's been missing a lot of, maybe shots that are through a bit of weak contact, maybe draws a foul, should be getting the end ones. Yesterday, he got like stuffed at the rim twice going for a dunk.
One of which was by the rim. He got stuffed by the rim, which is
so again, he's still been playing really well this year, but I just, I have to wonder if there's a little what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of those, especially like late in the game when GW is trying to make a comeback. I mean, you got to finish some of those shots through the contact. I don't think at his height you should be getting stuffed by the rim as much. I know it happens, like you see it every night if you watch a game, but sometimes I do wonder how that happens.
All right, should we move over to Florida? I mean, when we were planning this out, we were hoping there would be a little more optimism about facing Florida, but I still think it could be a competitive game. I've watched a lot of Florida. One of my roommates right now is a big Florida fan, so that's usually the default college basketball game that's on. If we're watching something, they've had a great schedule. They've been playing a lot of good games, so they've been a really fun team to watch. And I think it's a pretty fascinating matchup if you just look at it, because they have been really underperforming and have some very real flaws that GW could exploit. They are the worst three-point shooting high major team in the country. They're 12th in the country, like 12th worst three-point shooting team, shooting 27.3%. A big part of that is because Xavier Lee and Boogie Fland, two of the biggest high-profile transfers in the country, have both been incredibly disappointing to start the year. So if those guys are they have the ability to play up, but if they are struggling like they have the majority of the year, that is definitely a matchup that I think GW can exploit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's clearly that's where GW has the advantage here, because I think they are at a significant disadvantage in the front court.
Well, yeah, because Condon, Chimulu, and Hauger is one of the most imposing, if not the most imposing front court in college basketball. And Howard playing at the 3 in college at 6'9", 215 is a matchup nightmare for anyone. And Ubu Benjamin, Tyrone Marshall, and Garrett. I don't think Garrett will be on him very much, but those guys, whoever they have to stop at him, is going to be he's going to be the toughest wing you face all year.
Yeah. So Caputo had 2 honestly hysterical quotes in the press conference about Florida.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
He said, if you play like a boy in that game, they may send you back in pieces to DC, which is awesome. And then he also said, the way we played tonight, I just hope everyone comes out of the game not in the infirmary.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. Watching the Florida UConn game a few days ago was like, that was an insane game. Obviously, I mean, to, top 25 programs, you're in MSG, packed crowd, but like just the environment. But the physicality of that game was ridiculous. Like the amount of offensive rebounds Florida was getting was crazy. And even with their shooting struggles, like they're a team that could just bully GW out of the game completely with their size.
So I think Rafael Castro is going to need to have the game of his life.
I think everyone is going to have the game of
their life. But him specifically in the defensive end, because I think there's a world in which he gets into foul trouble quick, because everyone's going to be excited, everyone's going to be hyped up going into this game, and they're going to attack him down low, I think. And if he's not able to defend without fouling, it'll be... Because in a game like this, right, it's really interesting to see how you would approach early foul trouble from someone like Castro. Because do you just ride it out and be like, we're living and dying by him? Or do you take the risk, put in hunger, and potentially risk the game getting out of hand like that? Because you don't know what to do. And I definitely could see, we've seen Castro get into foul trouble a lot this year early. And that's been okay for the most part, because hunger has been fine against some of these lower opponents. But against Florida, I don't know how I feel about that. I think, again, Castro, I think, is the most important player. And I'm not even expecting him to score that much, but just he's shown that he can be an all-league type defender, and he's going to need to have the defensive game of his life.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you've brought it up before, David, but it'll be interesting to see if GW does go double big with Hunger and Castro.
I don't think that's the move in this case, because I think Hunger potentially getting caught on an island against Condon or Haugen. I just think in this case, you probably want to go smaller than Florida to try and run them around a bit, because I think trying to out physical them down low isn't really the best strategy, because I think that's a battle you're going to lose, right? So I think in a perfect world, you want to have them play towards you and force them to go smaller, because you're running them around. You're using these hockey subs like you've seen them do, and people are just, sprinting in quick bursts, going to the bench, getting ready to do that again, because you're deeper than Florida. Florida, especially in the backcourt, they basically have 3 guards who they play. And one of them, the Slovenian guy, I think he's I forget his name. He's Urban Klazvar. He's like the shortest 6'1" I've ever seen. And so I think if he's in there, I think you could actually get some mismatches on him, because other than Trey Dinkins, GW has some pretty big physical guards. So I don't know. I've been thinking about this game for a while, and I've sort of talked myself into a path to victory, but a lot has to go right. And I think a lot of that's going to be sort of the classic upset in college basketball, where you see the underdog's guards just go crazy and have a big night from 3. And I think it's going to be a lot of that. And Florida's lack of 3-point shooting, I think makes the path to an upset, I guess, a little easier, because if they get down, it may be difficult for them to make up those points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
GW, I mean, they're going to have to get hot early. They're going to have to stay hot. It felt like against Delaware, especially late in the game, because of the shooting struggles throughout the game, they were scared to take some threes when they really needed them. It that can't happen against Florida. I feel like GW, scoring is very much infectious with this team, and everyone is going to have to get hot early. One point, David, I'll go back to on Hunger specifically. I mean, this is a guy with high major experience, or the most recent high major experience at GW. Mm-hmm. Like his teams at Northwestern beat Purdue when they had Zach Edey. I agree. I don't think he's. What? Sorry.
I'm just saying that's a good point. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He does have major experience.
He has that experience. I don't think he'll be great, as you said, if he gets switched onto a guard on the perimeter. That'll be dangerous, but I have really liked him in the game so far. His when he guards a big one-on-one in the post, he has been very, very solid. Like, he has great footwork, really doesn't move, he doesn't foul much. Of course, these will be bigger guys that he's up against, but I'm hopeful that he'll be a great backstop there, at least in on one-on-ones in the post.
I think
my biggest. Oh yeah, you go.
So, like, we spent all this time talking about how GW is coming off this really disappointing loss. Florida is 5-4. They've their last two losses are to Duke and UConn. So it's like, but those, you can excuse those losses. It's not like an embarrassing loss, but they're going to be, if you want to go into the kind of intangible thing, like, this is good. They're going to want to use this as a bounce back game. Like, they're not going to come in here and like just think they can show up and win the game. So I certainly think that they will be paying more attention than they would have been if they had won their last two games, or even won one of their last two games. So I don't know. I'm a little scared, just to be honest with you.
And I'm sure they're a little disappointed that GW is no longer a Q1 opportunity on a neutral floor, as they would have been if they had taken care of business against Delaware. But yes,
that doesn't matter for Florida. That doesn't matter for Florida.
Yeah, they're gonna get a
that's true. That's true. I'm looking at it from a mid-major perspective, maybe.
They're an SEC team. They could lose every game and they'd still be a top 4 seed because they're an SEC team that paid a lot of money for their roster. So it doesn't really matter.
You're right, but yes, I definitely still agree that they will not be overlooking this game. Before their SEC schedule as a get right game.
So one player who I think could be GW's difference maker in this is Trey Dinkins, because I think he's still the player with them who has the biggest potential to explode on the offensive end. He's been really quiet lately. He's gone 5 straight games without hitting double figures. And I think if they want a shot against Florida, he's going to need to really step up and make some crazy shots. Because I think if you want to beat Florida, you're going to need something crazy to happen. And I think Trey Dinkins having a classic, I mean, don't really want to say classic. It's December, and he's been on this team for a month. But what we expect Trey Dinkins to be able to do in that scoring role off the bench, what we've seen him do with creating his own shot from 3, taking NBA threes, all of that. I would expect him to understand that and try and get himself involved early. And it'll be a really great sign if his shots are falling.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think he should have a little bit of a longer leash than he has in some more recent games. Just, as long as he's shooting decently and playing decently well on the defensive end as well. But yeah, he should definitely be one of the guys that everyone is looking to score.
And I've one more thing as well. I'd like to see Garrett Johnson in the starting lineup. I think at this point he is so good and is, I think, pretty clearly close to all the way back. And so I think this whole idea of him coming off the bench and the staff saying starting lineup doesn't matter, I think it's getting a little too cute. And I think at a certain point, your guys need to be out there to set the tone.
So Caputo mentioned in the press conference that he didn't practice on Tuesday. He didn't practice the day before the deadline.
Okay.
Yeah.
I missed that.
Caputo also mentioned that Christian Jones is dealing with an ankle injury. And so just a small rant here. Caputo says, oh yeah, Christian Jones was dealing with an ankle injury, and then says, and obviously Garrett didn't practice on Tuesday. Well,
yeah,
no,
the obvious was
nothing about it is obvious. I had no idea. So I'm not sure what about that is obvious. That's not at all the point of, him saying that Garrett Johnson didn't practice on Tuesday. Hopefully they're both fully healthy. And I would imagine that's why Garrett didn't start, but I don't know. He didn't look hurt when he was playing on.
Exactly. That's the thing. He didn't look hurt. He hasn't looked hurt all year, really. I mean, he looked a little rusty and sort of a little jittery, I guess I would say is the correct way to describe that to start the season. But I think he's settled into being GW's best and most consistent offensive player. And unless there's an injury limitation, I would really hope he is starting from here on out, because I do think it's kind of silly to have him sub in at like the 17-minute mark before the first media timeout. Like, what do we do? Like, what's the point?
We were talking about this on the last episode, how it's like, are they subbing too much? I don't know.
Some people think so. But David, who would you like to see Garrett in the starting lineup for?
Tyrone Marshall, I think. I think he's been fine, but I think that Garrett just offers so much more floor spacing. And I think that, again, if this team wants to reach its full potential, Garrett's got to be there. And so Marshall's cool. He's a very valuable piece, but Garrett Johnson is, especially with the team struggling like this, I think it's time you got to take the training wheels off.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll see. I have a weird thing that upset me when I was looking at this game on KenPom. So this game is considered neutral, not semi-away for GW. That's stupid. That's really stupid. Listen to this. No, listen to this.
Wait, well, first of all, I'm going to be honest. I did not know that there was a semi-away classification. Has that been there the whole time?
It's a thing.
Okay.
So Florida's a game against UConn at Madison Square Garden on Tuesday night. That was semi-away.
Yeah.
But GW going down to Sunrise, Florida, that's not semi-away.
Well, we need to clarify the difference between KenPom and net. KenPom does not mean anything.
Neutral in net, and that's like it doesn't.
Yes.
Yeah.
So KenPom is just for a lot of programs use KenPom, a lot of fans and media use KenPom, but in terms of NCAA tournament bids and the way the committee evaluates it, they only really use the net. And so that is just a term that Mr. Ken Pomeroy will use to differentiate stuff. But yes, I agree that that's weird.
So dumb. It's so stupid.
You should tweet
it's like a mileage thing, and that because Florida's kind of big, this is technically far enough away from their campus. But I feel like there should be a way for them to get around that, where it's because if you look at like those Dayton Cincinnati ones, where it might be off campus in Cincinnati, but Dayton is still going to travel really well because it's really close. So that is definitely still more of a neutral site. This is going to be, I mean, I am heading down there with Abe Rothstein. We will be there as media. I know there's going to be a GW tailgate. There are GW alumni in Florida, but I would be shocked if there are more than 50 GW fans at that game.
I mean, do you think there will be a lot of people there in general? I guess that's a different question I've had. Yeah,
I think for Florida, people will show up. They haven't played a game in Miami. Is the
well, Miami, it's not really that close to Miami.
Well,
it's closer to Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, but they haven't played anywhere in South Florida. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the team that won a national title in the state's biggest market. I would feel very confident that it will be a raucous Florida crowd.
Yeah. I was a little regretting it for a little bit. I'm feeling good about my decision to watch from my couch and not spend all
Okay.
that money.
Well, I
Just
had
to be honest.
the flights. I was able to get all on points on JetBlue. It was like
How much do you
$90 round
fly?
trip. What?
How much do you fly? How do you have that many points? I mean, I guess
I
that's
don't
not
have that many points. The flights were that cheap. It was like $90 round trip.
Wow.
Damn.
And so, and then me and Abe are sharing a hotel room. And so it's not a huge expense.
Fair enough.
Yeah, no, I definitely considered it as well, but I'm kind of with you, Liam. Maybe I'll.
I
just
needed to
watch.
live out too. I needed to live out. I was like, I don't want to go to Florida. I can't, didn't need.
Oh, that's why. Yeah, that's why.
I've never been to Florida, and
It sucks. It's a fucking shithole. Miami is nice, but Sunrise is in the swamp. You look at a map, and it's literally the arena is like it's the arena, and then it's the swamp.
It's next to the Everglades. Yeah. So Abe and I are going to be in Fort Lauderdale, so we decided to get the hotel near the airport because we both have early morning flights on Sunday. And I've been looking around at stuff to do, good restaurants, anything like that.
Ask Caputo. Well, I mean, I guess he spent more time in Miami, but still,
He
said he's going to have some people there.
That's actually a really good point. Ooh, wait. Who do we think? Well,
Do we think
Coach L
Taylor is going to be there? Do we think who?
Coach L, Jim Larinaga.
I think he was at the Mason practice today.
Yeah,
he was there, but he still lives in Florida, right?
I think so. We could get Eric Spoelstra. I don't know if the Heat play on Saturday.
you can. Make it.
That's a great point. All of those like big Miami admin, they love him. I bet they'll be there.
We can hope. A few more,
Yeah,
add a few more people to the stands.
Yeah. It says the Heat next game is on Monday, December 15th.
In Miami?
In Miami against the Raptors.
Yeah, they'll probably be there.
So
the Heat right now are very upset that they lost their draft pick to the Hornets because the Hornets did not disclose the gambling investigation on Terry Rozier when they traded for him. So that's the big thing.
Oh, yeah.
Because they think the NBA should force the Hornets to give them the pick back because now they can't trade for anyone because they don't have any picks. And so they want Giannis.
We'll see if that strategy works.
Yeah, exactly. NBA is a crazy world. We're dealing with this, and they're dealing with.
As far as I'm concerned, the NBA doesn't start until Christmas. Like, I can't keep up. I gotta,
I'm great. I pretty much at this point, I'm pretty solely baseball, college basketball, and a little bit of football. And baseball and college basketball have literally zero overlap, so that works great for me.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't watch college football, do you? So you don't have any thoughts on the Sharon Moore situation, do you?
I mean, from a drama standpoint, I think it's pretty nuts. But I mean, I can't say I've ever watched a down of Michigan football, so I don't really know him as a college football coach. But just as a news story, as a college sports story, this whole thing is crazy.
Yeah.
You see what Nicole Auerbach had today, where apparently they were aware that he was in like mental health crisis and they didn't have any HR reps during the firing available to him. It's like that seems like an organizational failure just as a company, as a university.
Yeah, not a good look at all. My college roommate currently goes to the University of Michigan Law School. So I'm like, are they going to make a Sharon Moore case class? Like, are they just going to do an entire class about like the entire legality of all of this? I think they should.
I mean, I think one of the more interesting wrinkles also is that, supposedly some of these burner accounts were talking about this like 2 weeks, last week, 2 weeks ago, like something about these burner Twitter accounts rule the world.
These burners they're plugged in. So,
yeah.
I think any GW burners need to break some news. I mean, we're pretty not dramatic right now. I mean, that's a great thing is that there's not a lot of real.
Well, there was only like a.
Imagine if burners were around during Lonergan.
Oh God. We're never going to stop talking about Lonergan ever.
GW Revs Bolivia would be having a field day.
What would GW Revs Babylon have to say?
Something in what's the
Bunch of symbols.
Sanskrit, right?
Sanskrit. Some of those posts are so funny.
Yeah.
No, I think the A10 burners, they do not have the same quantity. We don't have as many as some of these others, but I think they can go toe to toe with anyone.
Yeah. With the exception of that lunatic
So
Fordham fan. That's Jay. But like that the owner of that Fordham fan account that like harasses people, like they should be in prison. Like,
I mean, he slurs at me. He had a period of like 3 weeks where he would like slur at me every week or like every day.
Yeah. And just call you like
I'll like every once in a while I'll like be telling someone who isn't in our silly little world of college basketball about, oh yeah, that homophobic Fordham fan is tweeting at me again. And it's just like, what are you talking about?
Okay.
What like I don't think people realize that's a sentence that could be said and that would make sense to someone.
Right. Okay, why don't we wrap this up before we're gonna work, who knows, maybe he's listening.
Pissed off Rams fan, if you're listening, slur at me today.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Although we won't know because he always does it. So we don't know if he's listening. I need to tell him to do something that he wouldn't usually do. So say something nice about it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Say something nice about
Cameron, thank you so much for coming on. We're gonna have some coverage surrounding the Florida game, and